What's up? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Rear Drop Sports Twitch channel and the very first episode of the regular season. My name is Nelstar15, and I'm joined by Big Ants Gaming, otherwise known as Anthony and Nathanius, who will probably get called Nathan and Nate interchangeably. But I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. So, Anthony, if you want to, go ahead and tell us a little bit about you, who you are, your favorite team, and all that jazz.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. So, big Dolphins fan. Save all the judgment for later. So, I will be talking a lot about the Dolphins and Tua. Big football fan. Played football in high school and just followed the sport all the way through. So, very exciting. You're going to hear a lot of fun and crazy takes from me. But go Fins. 1-0, baby.
Nathan.
Hi, I'm Nathan, and I'm on the other side of that coin as a Jets fan. I've been a lifelong football fan. I played Pee Wee League growing up, high school. Hurt my knee and stopped then, but I've been watching forever, playing Madden and all that sort of stuff, and just excited to be here.
Heck yeah. And then I'm Nell. I am a diehard Carolina Panthers fan. You can see by the Steve Smith jersey that's on my chair that I forgot to put on before we went live. Yeah, same as both of these guys. You know, been watching football my entire life, playing Madden as long as it's been a thing, and just generally a huge football fan. So welcome to the regular season. We're gonna be live here every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Rare Drop Sports Twitch channel. You'll be able to listen along later on whatever you listen to podcasts. But we'll kind of hop right into this. If you guys didn't watch the little hype video or the announcement video that we did yesterday, we have a stacked slate of news to go through. And we're going to, like I said, get right into it. We're going to start off with a little fantasy football. I know that's on the top of everybody's minds. First week just ended. I'm 1-0 in both of my leagues, so I'm obviously the most qualified person to talk about this here. But let's go ahead and hop right into the running back situation. I know a lot of people drafted, 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, and since then, if you drafted a Ravens running back, you unfortunately don't have a running back. But there were some surprises that came out this week across fantasy football. So I can kind of hop into it. If you have a Ravens running back, what are we going to recommend that people do? What are you guys thinking?
I mean, obviously, we're going to go straight into they did sign Le'Veon Bell.
Mm-hmm.
And looks like one more is going to be getting picked up, either Devontae Freeman or there's one more. It is
Latavius Murray.
It's on the top. Oh, Todd Gurley.
Okay.
Yes. So it's gonna be interesting. They still have one more person that got a lot of the touches, but I mean Le'Veon's ready.
Cool. Yeah, I mean. Personally, for me, if we're looking at it, there's a lot of people that are probably available in a lot of leagues that showed up. We're going to get into it a little bit later on down the docket, but Raheem Mostert's now hurt, and his backup, Elijah Mitchell, is available on ESPN, and like 98% or 97% of leagues. So just first and foremost, if you're top of the waiver wire, I mean, the guy just scored 16 points, so likely he's going to be on everyone's waiver to pick up. But I mean, if you're looking, there's someone to look at. You also have Mark Ingram kind of shelled out for Houston, which was a good thing. And then obviously James White is still with New England and put up 11 points. So I think this season for running backs is kind of good. What do you got, Nathan? Any lowdown on the Jets? Someone who may have gotten a couple carries more than anyone else, maybe a rookie out of the 4th round.
I think it's fair to say that there's not a good option there yet, because we haven't seen what any of them can do without getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage based on the 1 week performance that we had. I was ready to come in here and talk about how much I love Ty Johnson. I was hoping to see him get some. I think he's someone that a lot of people are sleeping on. He got the Jets their first 100-yard rushing game in years last season, the one game Frank Gore couldn't play. But I can't rightfully go straight into that without being able to say, okay, can he actually get past the line of scrimmage and make a run happen? Because we didn't get to see that this last week.
Absolutely. But there are plenty of running backs out there, so there are a lot of backups. I expect on the Panthers maybe Chuba Hubbard gets some more touches, but it's not likely since Christian McCaffrey touched the ball like 89% of the Panthers snaps. So don't count on teams like that. But other than that, there are a ton of available players across all positions. Do you guys have any on the top of your mind that you might recommend people keep an eye on or pick up right now? Because I think Anthony's he's jonesing, so he might got a few.
Oh, yeah, there is one person that it's not popping out in the stat sheets. Brian Edwards, receiver from the Raiders. He had 3 big catches towards the end of the game that kept them alive / won them the game. The thing is, Derek Carr said before the game he wanted to get him involved. And that last few series, he looked away from Henry Ruggs and he went to him. Big time playmaker. Yes, I put him on my team because unfortunately I'm 0-1. So top of the way priority.
What about you, Nathan?
Well, at least for me, I think a lot of people, of course, were curious, especially with the rookie quarterback situation. But if there was one thing that some people had kind of talked about before, Corey Davis, not a name that's going to pop up on a lot of folks' radars. Picked up 26 points this week, and he's the number 1 target for Zach. So even if they can only make a couple of plays happen in the whole game, it's probably going to be to that guy. Not a bad idea to have him, especially if that O-line picks up.
Yeah. And I'm going to keep going with the receiver train. So Tennessee Titans obviously picked up Julio Jones in the offseason. But Julio Jones was, kind of outplayed by the number 4 receiver on the team, Chester Rodgers, who had less targets and more points coming out with 10 points. He's owned in approximately 0% of the leagues on ESPN. So keep an eye on Chester Rodgers. He might not be someone to pick up right now, but with 4 catches on 6 targets for 62 yards, it's definitely someone to keep an eye on. And then we'll keep going down the line. But Anthony had a special request to talk about Big Ant's fantasy football mistakes. And I have no idea what this is, so I just kind of want to hear it. We're just going to let Anthony take the floor.
All right. So every week I want to talk about my fantasy team. So let me just give you the rundown. This is a league I've been in for 12 years. I have been grandfathered in. This is a big money league. And I sweat every week with decision making. Now, they said that I had the number 1 draft when I did it, and I don't believe Yahoo. Yahoo lied to me. So, I just want to go over a key matchup that I barely won. I barely won the game, but I want to say thank you to Kyler Murray for giving me 34 points in the bottom of my heart. If you're there, if you got a cousin watching, thank you. But it's going to be an up and down year. Jerry Jeudy. Yep. He's out for a few weeks, and he was my number 1 receiver I picked. So I'm already sweating. But yes, every week I'm going to go through my woes, my ups and downs of my fantasy team. So don't judge me.
That's fine.
I'm with you there. Hey, you know what? I had AJ Dillon and Ty play this week. Okay. I took a little bit of a risk and I felt the pain. I had Lamar and Amari Cooper weren't enough to dig me out of the hole I put myself in.
Yeah. I have no complaints besides the fact that I started Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Devontae Smith, and regardless, I would have won. So,
that must be nice.
Yeah, it was great. It's fantastic. Listen, I'm just, Joe Mixon and Dalvin Cook on the same team. So,
no, can you tell me something about Robbie Anderson? Because I had him on my bench, and apparently he did good.
He had 1 catch for 57 yards and a touchdown. It was great for 12 points.
Yep.
Okay. Keep an eye on that.
Yep. Keep an eye on Robbie. He might be good. But yeah. So hopping on to the next one, Nathan requested to talk a little about Vegas lines, and I used to be into lines, but it looks like, Nathan's got a few things to talk about. So what did you bet on this weekend? Yeah. And looking forward, do you have any recommendations?
I am certainly not qualified enough to tell anybody where to put their money on.
100% you are.
Start with that disclaimer. Absolutely not. Absolutely do not listen to anything I tell you, okay? I will say I had a nice week because I felt like the whole situation with the Texans was just such a trap setup with how everything's been going on. A lot of people were counting them out. I thought they came out swinging and did really well. So those were guys that I was looking at this last week. And the Eagles. think Hurts is someone to keep their eyes on. Definitely huge upset potential with the weapons that they picked up. Rager and Devonta Smith looked phenomenal. I'm always looking at underdog teams. That's kind of where I keep my head at, because I don't like betting on favorites, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. No, fair. Funny enough, you mentioned the 9 underdog teams this past week. If you put a $10 parlay on all 9 of them that won, you would have won $35,000. So keep an eye on the underdog teams. This season's going to be a little wild, especially with 17 games. So hopefully next week we'll have some more lines and things to go over. But yeah. So week 1 is officially in the books. Some surprising things happen. I'm looking at you, Aaron Rodgers. And some not so surprising things happened. I don't even know. Everything kind of took me by surprise. But first and foremost, the West of the U.S. is dominant in week 1 of the NFL. Both the NFC and AFC West win out. Any thoughts? What do you guys think? I mean, for me personally, I watched every minute of the Chiefs-Browns game. And I don't even, it's just one of those things where, as someone who also went to Texas Tech and got a chance to watch Pat Mahomes, it's so much fun to watch him do the exact same thing he did at Tech that people said wouldn't get him drafted, do it in the NFL. Like 3 throws in a row sidearm, making unbelievable plays. It's just absolutely really incredible. It was a great game to watch overall. And I think the Chiefs might have a little trouble in the AFC West. What do you guys think?
First of all, I just want to say that there's 2 players in the NFL that they're almost boring to watch, because you know that they're going to come back, they're going to beat you, they're never down, and that's Mahomes and Brady. They both did the situation this first week. Brady, literally, they gave him too much time to win the game. Mahomes, he can be down by 21, 28, it doesn't matter. He's so composed, like he just like go out there and he'll drop 4 or 5 touchdowns in a quarter and a half. It's crazy.
I could not agree with that more, by the way. As soon as I saw how much time they had when they were going for that field goal, I'm like, 1 point for Brady? You giving him a whole minute? No, absolutely. Wild to see. And I agree with everything that you were saying as well, with like Pat Mahomes, looking at the West. For me personally, it was really nice because I'm a huge fan of Kyler Murray. I love his footwork. I love watching that guy run. He delivered a performance that I kind of expected. But a question that I had on my mind going into this week, at least the big one for me, was, how much were we going to see Trey Lance with the 49ers, and how is Stafford going to adjust to Los Angeles? Watching Stafford play was so much fun. It's like putting on a glove that just fits perfectly after playing in Detroit for a better part of a decade now, or more than that. Just it was such a weird thing to watch it and be like, yeah, actually, the Rams look really good. I mean, they're obviously set on defense. Bringing in a quarterback that can make plays like that has me very excited to see where they're going to go.
Yeah, it's wild. As someone who has had Matt Stafford on his fantasy football team for the better part of that entire decade you're talking about, always supporting him, it's nice to see him have a supporting cast around him. And I think the Rams are going to be a force to be reckoned with in that division. But, we had a game last night, I think, this is later on, but we're going to talk about it right now. The Raiders, with some mind-boggling plays to get ahead, and a bunch of, if we're being honest, a bunch of wide receivers that we weren't really expecting in Bryan Edwards and Zay Jones kind of coming up clutch in the end. So what do you think? Maybe the Raiders got a chance in that division too. Derek Carr, for all that he's doubted, is probably one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. I would not put them there yet with the Chiefs, because they kind of blew it. Like they held on at the end, but like you saw like their mental, like they could have had a collapse. Like when they're at the goal line, when Edwards didn't get the touchdown, and it took them 3 plays, they had a false start by their offensive lineman that pushed them back, and you could just see like the old Raiders slowly starting to come out. So I don't know. Right now, the Chiefs are still cutting above. I know the Chargers had a decent game. Herbert with a touchdown and an interception. All eyes are going to be on him because of his rookie season. You got, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and then the Broncos. I don't know Teddy B yet.
I'm gonna be mad if he's good. I'm gonna be mad if he's good this season.
He made a couple of plays. I don't know if you saw he had the red zone breakaway toss on 4th down was just those are the things that it's been tough because he's obviously been going team to team. He hasn't really found that place, hasn't hit his stride. But when you see a guy make plays like that in a tense, high pressure situation, that's kind of the reason why I've been rooting for him ever since, you know, he got back off that injury and went around. He was a backup on the Jets and then to the Saints. I kind of wanted to see him be able to step up and take that spot, but obviously they've got their whole situation figured out. They clearly have that, but yeah, it was really nice to see Teddy B look a little bit alive, and I hope to see him. He's a guy that I kind of root for. I just feel like I naturally want to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously, yeah, he was good in Carolina last year. Like, let's not argue that, right? It's just there was a lot of woes with that team, and they weren't ready to build their offense around him. But it looks like Denver was, so it could be an interesting development as the season goes on. Hopping on the NFC side of things, well, Russell Wilson just did Russell Wilson things. I mean, just when you're like, oh, the Seahawks, you know, they're kind of past their prime and all that, Russell's like, excuse me, what'd you just say to me? And comes out here and balls out with perfect passer rating, with perfect quarterback rating, and goes 18 for 23, 254 yards and 4 touchdowns. And what's great is that forever, again, being a Big 12 guy and having gone to Texas Tech, I saw Tyler Lockett at K-State just absolutely trounce people year after year after year, and it's so great to finally see him kind of get the attention that he deserves on that team. What? Because they're better part of a couple years where he was the returner and he would get the odd 60-yard touchdown. So it was pretty dope to see him do that. And then of course DK Metcalf is just not human. So that team I think has some explosive weapons on offense that are really going to make a difference. But then again, I mean, like, Bobby Wagner's still there, and Bobby Wagner throws up 6 solo tackles with 13 total and 1 for a loss, and then also has a PD. So you partner him up with Rasheem Green, who had, again, 4 tackles, a sack, a tackle for loss, and then on top of that, 2 extra QB hits. So I think Seattle, in the whole picture of things, is probably going to be a little underrated going into the season and moving forward.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of drama came up, right? There was so much back and forth about whether or not they were trying to do enough for us. And when you talk about the big talent that they have on the team, I think you already nailed it, right? Between those receiver weapons, you have a really aggressive defense, people that love to get in your face. Bobby Wagner, Jamal Adams, he has the recipe, but you got to be able to give Russ time to get the ball out. And when you can do that, then you get 4 touchdown passes in a game, and you absolutely crush the opponent. It was a very fun game to watch. Yeah,
and let's not also ignore the fact that Russell was sacked 3 times, so there might be some worries there on the offensive line. But I mean, 3 times for Russ as someone who runs probably isn't that bad. So I think they'll be just fine. And then I mean, Anthony mentioned it. Kyler Murray. Holy guacamole.
Thank you.
Go take it.
Man, he got a new friend in D-Hop. That man, DeAndre Hopkins, has not lost a step. He left a toxic situation in Houston, and he is over here, and he is killing. He has not lost a step at all. But their offense is high power. Can we talk about Chandler Jones and his 5 sacks yesterday? He literally took the defense on his back. I want to say that's one of the highest sack totals we've seen in a hot minute. I think Khalil Mack did 5 sacks 2 years ago.
I mean, last year for the Cardinals, Hassan Reddick did it against the Giants.
That's scary, and that's why, like, the West looked great, the AFC and the NFC, but they're going to beat up on each other. So you're probably going to see the winner of the West, especially NFC West, probably be 8-8, because they have to all face each other twice, and it's going to be even. It's going to be a dogfight.
Absolutely. I'm excited. Cardinals. Okay. Again, I don't know how many times I'm gonna bring up Texas Tech in the first 20 minutes of the show, but I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, come on. He's like the prodigal son of Lubbock, Texas. So, I got a soft spot in my heart for the Cardinals. And Kyler Murray was his pride, was the recruit that he wanted in college. So, it's cool to see him. And, JJ Watt, me being from the Houston area, it's cool to see JJ being able to go out there and ball out. So, exciting things coming from the NFC and the AFC West. But there's another portion of the NFC that didn't really do so hot. Let's just talk about the Packers. Let's just. I mean, is Aaron Rodgers playing for a paycheck?
He is playing for a new team. This is
he played for the Saints. He played for the Saints on Sunday.
Hey, you can't be mad at Rodgers because he lost to the future MVP of the league this season.
Don't even.
And
Oh,
that
boy.
is
We're not getting
going
into
to
this.
be-
We're not getting into this.
When is my time? I'm gonna talk about my boy Jameis. I am rooting for him, but Aaron Rodgers literally he did. This is the one pass I saw, and I was like, "Yep,
Was it the
he's
punt?
done." It was the jump, like he did like a jump 360 pass into traffic, and it was an interception. And we all know Aaron Rodgers. He's really like he doesn't throw a lot of picks. He's really calculated. He'll throw the ball away. He doesn't care. He is literally that person that wants to be done with the relationship, but somehow they still talk about it. But he doesn't want to be there. He talks about the organization. He doesn't care during his press conference. It's time. Green Bay, let him go.
Are you saying that Aaron Rodgers would rather be hosting Jeopardy right now than playing for the Green Bay Packers?
Correct. He'd rather be on. Wasn't he on a show?
He
Yeah,
was on Jeopardy.
But he was also on a TV show too.
Yeah.
Like just let him fly.
It's wild. It's especially wild whenever Jameis Winston outperforms you. Like, okay, listen, I'm not going to completely knock on Jameis, but I mean the dude has a record for 30 touchdowns and 30 picks in the single season together.
Hey,
wasn't the whole thing that he got the LASIK surgery after that?
Yeah.
Isn't this if you take the clear raw talent that he has and his ability to throw the ball, I mean, he can literally find the receivers better. It's clearly paying off in a very measurable way. You don't just pick up 5 touchdowns just chucking it against Green Bay. It's not like they've got chumps on defense either. I think it makes the Saints way more exciting that Jameis is kind of performing to that hope that I think a lot of people had for him.
Man, did you see his off-season workouts? He was doing workouts in somebody's backyard. He brought in random people to punch him with a bag, and he did some really weird workouts. I'm happy for Jameis because you know what? It takes a lot of just talent to throw 30 picks and not get fragile. But like his last throw for the Buccaneers, sorry Bucs fans, he threw a pick 6 to lose the game in overtime for them. It's just wonderful.
Okay, hold on. I get what y'all are saying, but let's not forget the fact. I don't know if you guys watched every bit of that game. I watched what Red Zone would show me, which when they're throwing a lot of touchdowns is a lot of the game. But every play that Sean Payton called for Jameis was super conservative. Like the guy only had 20 attempts, only completed 14 passes. Most of them were in the red zone, throwing touchdowns. And that's fine. But I think Sean Payton is scared to let Jameis be Jameis because he knows those interceptions are going to happen if he lets him kind of run wild with the offense. So the guy only threw for 148 yards. Alvin Kamara kind of, I mean, it don't matter. 148 yards.
A win is a win. I mean, he did everything he needed to do.
I know.
I mean, you could talk about the weakness that he has all day long. He could be, you can make the same comparison for any of the rookie quarterbacks, except he didn't lose his team the game. He didn't make mistakes on his own. And if the coaching was to create that environment for him, that's just good coaching.
I mean, I'm just going to say, okay, listen, you can say 5 touchdowns all you want. So I'm going to take away the fact that I don't think Jameis Winston's going to fully be unleashed because I think Sean Payton's afraid of unleashing Jameis and throwing a bunch of picks.
Sean Payton is the perfect coach for Winston. First of all, let's not forget Sean Payton is an offensive mindset type of player. And he's been really limited the past few years because Breeze and his arm, he couldn't make the throws that Sean Payton wanted to. So you insert Jameis, who has no fear. Jameis has no fear at all. He's going to throw for 10 total touchdowns. Next week, he's going to throw 5 touchdowns. He'll be at 10 touchdown passes by the end of week 2.
Everyone take note of that.
You can go ahead. You can write it down. I'm telling you. He will be at least 9 touchdowns. He will throw for 4 or more touchdowns next week. I am putting Jameis.
Wait, you're just taking a step back. Hold on. You said 5.
You gotta give me a little window.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You said 5. We're sticking with 5.
Okay, you know what? That's fine. Who are they playing? I got 5. I got 5 on it. There it is.
They're playing against. I think it's the Panthers, right?
They are. They are playing against the Panthers. I mean, you can say that. The Panthers look pretty good against. I mean, I guess it was the Jets, but
I mean, you did play against mostly rookie cornerbacks for that game, and the safety was a practice squad guy, unfortunately.
yeah. I mean,
But
that's a good.
I don't
That's
think the Saints are quite the same level as far as the defensive pass coverage goes as the Jets right now.
fair, and that's a good segue to talk about the Jets, Carolina. Two big stories coming out of that. Obviously, Sam Darnold's revenge game, and Zach Wilson's debut, number 2 overall pick. Highly touted out of BYU. And luckily for everyone watching and listening, you have a Panthers and a Jets fan on here to discuss it.
Excellent.
Well, I mean, so you probably paid a little bit more attention to Zach Wilson than I did as I was paying attention to the defense of Carolina. What are your initial thoughts? Do you think he's going to live up to the hype? Are you any concerns immediately?
I mean, the first half was obviously rough for a lot of reasons, but the biggest thing that you could say, if I'm looking overall, is the offensive line didn't perform. Zach Wilson got sacked 6 times in his first actual NFL game. That's not preseason, so he's gotten that out of the way. I remember they were talking about how he was the only one that hadn't gotten sacked in preseason. O-line looked obviously a lot better versus backup players, but I think the tenacity that he showed in that second half, especially after that 6th sack, just gets up next play, hits Davis, right? There was some really good grit shown by him, and I think the movement, trying to do what he could in those situations. The interception kind of sucked, but when you can pick up 2 touchdowns and not throw a pick in the second half, when you're able to make that sort of I'm not going to say recovery, but from the perspective of a Jets fan looking at it, there's almost no game we're behind and we get back to a place where it actually looks winnable. To me, in his first ever game with most of the starting players, or a huge number of them being rookies, it's between running backs, guard, corners, linebackers. We got a lineman rookie, I think that was playing. I think that the fact that Zach Wilson, pretty much on his own, because our running game was non-existent, got us to within an onside kick of maybe making the game winnable. I think that's a pretty huge statement to just how he can actually have an impact on the team.
Yeah. I will say this, from my side, looking out or looking in from the Panthers side, to me, it looked a lot of the same story of what happened to Sam Darnold. Yeah, there were flashes of greatness, but it looks like wasn't protected. What you're talking about. The offensive line was horrendous, if you will. 6 sacks for 51 yards lost. I thought Derek freaking Brown removed his head with that last sack. It was him and Hassan Riddick that tackled him together at the same time. I thought Zach Wilson died. But it was the same story over and over and over again. It's just like every sack that the Panthers had, it was blown blocking. Like there was no one there to block that. They came in uninterrupted and went straight through and got to Zach. And for Zach Wilson's health, I hope that they fix this. Because the kid's young and he did look good. I mean, that there was at one point they showed the stats, he was 2 for 10 with an interception. It was ooh, looks like we're playing the Jets again. And that's what it came down to. So I did see a lot of the Sam Darnold parallels there. He had a lot of for the good things that he did have a couple bad reads and a couple missed calls on some plays, and that game comeback kind of fell flat, but that's not all on him. But on the flip side, hello, Sam Darnold. Welcome to the Carolina Panthers. We hope you enjoy your stay. We like you now. Sam Darnold, they talked the whole game, about Sam Darnold's happy feet. I had no idea what they were talking about. Sam Darnold's got happy feet. I was like, what are you talking about? So Sam Darnold, for the most part of his time in the Jets, because he was afraid of dying behind that offensive line, was moving around all the time, right? He was always backpedaling, using his feet, couldn't stand still, was doing X, Y, and Z, and ended up looking very calm and poised in the pocket. Now, here's the thing, though. It's not all, sunshine and rainbows, because the Carolina offensive line has to do better. For all the sacks that Zach Wilson took, Sam Darnold was pressured and hit more. So in the face of that pressure, Sam Darnold was able to come up, 24-35, almost 300 yards and a touchdown with one beautiful dime to Robbie Anderson to really cement the revenge game rhetoric. 57 yard
revenge game, though?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It's a story and I'm sticking to it. You need stories.
Okay. Fair enough, I guess.
But with that being said, Carolina, what more can you say than look at Christian McCaffrey's stat line? 9 catches for 89 yards and then 21 carries for for 98 yards. And by the way, that he caught 9 passes on 98 or on 9 targets. So he caught every pass that was thrown his way. Christian McCaffrey is back. It looks like. Let's see if he can remain healthy. I think that's the biggest thing for Carolina moving forward. If Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy, Sam Darnold looks like he did on Sunday, then I would say with the defense that they have, if they can tighten up the offensive line, I'd say that Carolina's kind of looking good moving forward.
Yeah, I think, and just to be really clear about this, a lot of other Jets fans agree here. Outside of specifically wanting to beat you for the obvious reason of wanting to win a game, a lot of us feel really bad about the situation that he had to go through the last few years.
Yeah.
And you're talking about having to constantly be on the run and seeing ghosts and all that. It would be really awesome to see him kind of bring that team back, because that's, I think, been a great story for a couple of big teams over the last few years, with Mahomes kind of restored hope for KC. Mayfield's been doing great for the Browns, and that's kind of what we want to see, is that level of competition come up. But yeah, I think I'm excited about that, especially because he had a really good rapport with Robbie when they were in New York. So if those guys can keep coming together, and you have that safety valve option with CMC, I mean, there's nobody better to have when you need to dump the ball off than that guy.
And that's not even, we haven't even discussed DJ Moore, who had one of the most beautiful toe tap catches I've ever seen. So yeah, I think Carolina set up, Terrace Marshall Jr. second round pick is great. But then again, you mentioned it. I think the Jets have a stud in Corey Davis, but also in Braxton Berrios, a guy who I've literally never heard his name. I was like, can this guy just stop? Can he stop?
He's an Instagram Chad. He is the guy that just posts shirtless pictures of himself wearing shorts, and he is incredibly good shape. He's been punt returning for us for a while, but yeah, he's a cool guy.
He looked good. And Jets, if you can get your running game sorted, which I will say, going up against Derek Brown, Yetur Gross-Matos, Brian Burns, and Hassan Reddick, it's probably not a good indication of what your running game is going to do. So chalk that up for next week. So yeah,
this is the first time that offensive line was actually playing together, by the way. Because our left guard, the guy we just drafted, did not get to. For some reason, I'm forgetting his name, of course, because there's a camera on me. Elijah Vera Tucker, but he actually did not play at all in preseason. So a lot of it, we're hoping it's communication issues and not just inability to do your job.
Fair. So moving on, we had a thriller in Cincinnati. The Bengals and the Vikings. What I did not pick to be probably game of the week to watch and have fun watching. Turned into just a knockdown, drag out slobber knocker, as good old JR would say. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch it, but holy moly, that was a Joe Mixon and Dalvin Cook show.
All I can say is I had Joe Mixon on my bench, and I was very sad. I was very, very sad.
Yeah,
I did start him. I'm really happy for Jamar Chase.
Yep, Jamar Chase.
The preseason, he had the meanest case of drops, and like you could just see his demeanor was just shot during the preseason. I love that Joe Burrows was like, I don't care. You're my former college teammate. I'm gonna keep on feeding you the ball. When he got that 50-something yard touchdown, you could just tell like that's gonna be a good 1-2 punch, like going forward. And then Joe Mixon did his thing. So
yeah, I mean,
watch out.
Yeah, watch out for the Bengals. You said Jamar Chase, but let's not write off Tyler Boyd or T. Higgins, who both kind of showed up in their own right. T. Higgins only missing one of his targets, and then Tyler Boyd only missing one of his as well. But both of them combining for an additional 90 yards and a touchdown combined. So Joey B coming back from ACL surgery, looking to be what everybody thought he was going to be coming out last year. And I don't know. I think the Bengals are really set up for success, especially in their division. There's a lot to be desired in their division. So I think this really sets them to move forward. But on the opposite side of the ball, the Vikings, they lost in overtime, but Kirk Cousins finally looked good and looked solid and didn't look scared in the pocket. But what do you guys think about Kirk Cousins and the Vikings moving forward?
Going forward, I mean, if it's all about the health of Dalvin Cook. He stays healthy, that line will get them to where they need to be. Obviously, I drafted Justin Jefferson, so I do have some investment in the Vikings as well. And he did throw a pretty 11-yard pass. Like, it was good. Watch out, Kirk Cousins. Watch out now. But obviously, you got Thielen, you got Jefferson on the outside, but it's all about Cook. Cook stays healthy, the Vikings can do some damage in the North. Just plain and simple, because the North is. We were looking at the Bears. The Bears going to have to figure out their quarterback situation. You have Detroit. Detroit has Goff. We all know Goff. We don't know. He didn't look bad in his game. He didn't look bad, but I think that division is open.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that the NFC North is wide open, and we're gonna get to another one of them here in a second. But the Bears obviously fell a little flat, came up a little short with Andy Dalton, and we can hop into that. But that situation is just drama waiting to happen, especially whenever Justin Fields comes in and goes 2 for 2 for 10 yards and runs the ball in for a touchdown. So he saw 3 plays and was perfect. So. This is insane, but, you mentioned Jared Goff, new team, Detroit Lions, going up against Jimmy G and the 49ers. Like we already talked about the NFC West, but I think Jared Goff and change of scenery might have done him well, and he's got what looks to be one of the top tight ends in the league in TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, having those reliable weapons is so nice. You can go.
No, the biggest thing I just got to say about Goff is he had a relationship issue with McVay in Los Angeles. It showed. McVay didn't trust him, and it got to the point where that is the main reason why he went to Detroit.
Yep.
They was able to get Stafford. McVay loved Stafford. He could stretch the ball down the field. I think Goff will have his best season in Detroit.
Bold words. Guy went to a Super Bowl in LA, so bold statement there.
I told you I got a lot of bold statements. I am not done.
Hey, I wouldn't say he was the worst quarterback before he got traded.
Guy went to a Super Bowl. That's more than a lot of people can say. So then, we can sit here and talk about every game all night long. Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Big Ben looks like a potato, and Josh Allen just didn't show up.
Big plays on defense and special teams too. I think sealed that in a big way for the Steelers. That block punt was a beautiful execution.
Absolutely, and the fact that T.J. Watt was able to contain Josh Allen the way that he did, I solely put that entire game on T.J. Watt's shoulders and give him player of the game. He came in and just straight balled out. He did exactly what he had to do. With 2 sacks, a tackle for a loss, and 5 QB hits, absolutely insane. So if Pittsburgh had a different quarterback, I'd be more confident in them moving forward. I love Big Ben. I love what he's done, but you can't deny that he's aged less gracefully than Tom Brady.
Yeah, I feel like a part of the hope there for Steelers fans is they're like, he's not too old, right? And everybody just keeps telling themselves that, they all they get to the tailgate, and the first thing everyone agrees on, we all agree, Roethlisberger's not too old, right? We're still behind this guy, but you don't really get that same level of feeling. But I guess some team has to be trying to get that high draft pick for a big quarterback, and a couple of other teams have gone through. So maybe it'll be the Steelers in a year or two.
Yeah, who's not doing good at getting a high draft pick is the Houston Texans with Tyrod Taylor. Okay, granted they're playing the Jaguars, but the fact that Tyrod Taylor goes 21 of 33 for almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then Mark Ingram comes out of nowhere and gets a touchdown and 85 yards on 26 carries. Brandon Cooks comes in and does his thing for 132 yards. Pharaoh Brown, the Texans are. Granted, again, they're playing against the Jaguars. Is this hope, or is it just they're playing a lesser team? What do we think?
There's been so many takes on this, and I still don't really even know where I settle on it, because a lot of people, talking about Urban Meyer adjusting to the NFL, some of the play call stuff. There's also the mood that your team's going to get in when the quarterback is getting those picks thrown. And obviously Trevor Lawrence at 51 attempts, so that's a huge amount. But yeah, Mark Ingram doing a really good job. I was never really out on him, but I guess in the league, for the most part, running backs get really undervalued unless you are Dalvin Cook or Alvin Kamara. It was honestly a really nice one to see, because I'm like, well, everything on the team seemed, outside of the drama related situation, they're still trying to get their job done. These guys are still getting paid. And I guess it kind of let them go a little bit under the weather, or, under the radar. People didn't really have their eyes on them as much. You just kind of assume without number 4, things weren't going to go where you need them to be, but they just came out, played confidently, and that's what you love to see. The Tyrod Taylor, of course, is still a big question mark because, I mean, it was that injury that ended up happening right with Burrow coming in, or sorry, I'm blanking on names, of course, on the Chargers.
Oh yeah,
but maybe he gets his actual shot.
Herbert.
Maybe he can actually do it, right? Because with Herbert, right? Because they had the injection, mishap, whatever. They had to put him in. All of a sudden, Herbert balled out. So did Tyrod Taylor get a fair shake? Maybe not as much as he could have done similarly well last year. But it makes me more excited to watch the Texans play. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Growing up around the Texans has been it is truly a soap opera. If you want to talk about a team that has managed to defy all expectations when it comes to being bad, like they are equivalent to what the Browns have been since before Baker and all that jazz. But it is nice to see. It's nice to see hope in my niece's eyes when they watch football and they get a win. But I agree. Maybe this is Tyrod's chance to do it. The question is, if Deshaun comes back and Tyrod's balling out, Texans just trade Deshaun and move on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. At some point, it can't go on forever, right? It's got to end one way, and if he's not playing, then clearly it's not going to end in the there's no fairy tale way where everything was suddenly, oh yeah, none of it was real or whatever. There's consequences to what's happened, and I don't think what's been set in motion can be undone.
Fair. That's a good take.
At the end of the day, you got to lower your asking price for Deshaun Watson, but you need to get something for him.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't want to be there. You got somebody like here. You got draft. You can get good draft picks. Trade them. Don't ask for 3 players and 3 picks. Maybe ask for a player and 2 first-round picks. There is a team down south that will probably willing to do that. I will leave that team anonymous. It might be my team, but I'm not going to say it. But if you lower your asking price, if something happens and somebody gets an injury, go trade them. Just trade them, get your picks, and rebuild your team. This is your time.
It's the Dolphins, by the way. It's the Dolphins.
Yeah. Do you think they're just waiting for someone to get hurt before they're forced to cave to their demands? Feels like it's a bit of a gamble, right?
Yep.
I mean, there is a team in the nation's capital that has a quarterback issue.
I mean, they don't. What are you talking about? They got Taylor Heineke.
There is a team in the nation's capital that might have a quarterback issue.
Bro, isn't his backup Kyle Allen? They're set.
There you go.
There's a
Where's
team
Josh Rosen?
in the
Can we hit
nation's
him
capital.
up? Is he still somewhere?
Something.
Where's Josh Rosen? Let's bring out Josh Rosen. I think Josh Rosen would be a good fit for Washington. But recapping the games, we have one game left, and that's the Monday night game. Raiders versus the Ravens. And what turned into, I turned off my TV because I was bored and immediately turned it back on when someone yelled at me. And turned into a thriller. Derek Carr, there was some like obscure stat, like that's the most passing yards in a Monday night game or week 1 Monday night game by quarterback, or something like Raiders quarterback most passing yards in a Monday night game ever. Some obscure stat that ESPN stats thing that they do on Twitter pointed out. But what a game! What a game! We got to see Marcus Mariota. That was cool. He was in the game once, ran the ball for 31 yards. That was hilarious. Thanks, Marcus.
That was a very funny play. That was a very funny play early in the game.
Yeah. Can you imagine that there's over 10 tight ends in the league that are paid more money than Darren Waller?
Not for long, I tell you that.
No, exactly. Yeah. Well, they took a chance on him at first, right? And he managed to have a full recovery with everything he was involved with, and he's been an absolute stud with them. I hope that man gets his bag when the time comes, because he certainly deserves it. Mm-hmm. He is nasty reliable. Big part of why it's so much easier for the quarterback to hit the other targets, because I can't imagine that it's easy to make that defensive game plan around Waller. He's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, but what a game and a half. What a game and a half. I mean, so take a step back from the whole game itself, but the fact that can we talk about how Marlon Humphrey and the refs just ignored the fact that he had an interception and they just went on with 4th down?
Yeah.
Did anyone else see that?
Oh yeah,
I thought it was an edit clip.
No, when he just dropped it too, and then he jumped on it, and it's like, well, no, I guess everybody's just nope, don't mention it. We're just gonna just completely glossed by this. No, that was definitely a weird one.
Yeah, I saw him get up, and I was like, wait a second. He caught that. Are we? No, okay, fourth down, cool. All right, continue the game. Screw the rules.
It's week one.
It's only gonna get better. I know we talked about it to start the show. But Ravens running back situation doesn't look to be as dire as they thought with Tyson Williams and Latavius Murray taking up 19 carries together. I will say this. Latavius Murray probably didn't deserve 10 carries with the way that Tyson Williams was running the ball. But Tyson Williams had 9 carries and 65 yards and a touchdown. Granted, one of those was 35 yards, but still, that's besides the point. But Latavius Murray again, 28 yards and a touchdown. So looks like they may have figured it out. What do we think?
I've seen this happen 3 or 4 years ago. I could be honest with you. If they don't figure out their running game, they're gonna lose their starting quarterback for the year. And the reason why I say that is because he's going to overdo himself. He's going to want to be able to throw for 300 and run for 100. And he's going to try to take the extra yards. He's going to try to reach out. And he's going to get hurt. That line, protect him. He had 3 fumbles yesterday, lost 2 of them. You can see he's trying to be Superman. He's trying to be the Mahomes and do everything. There's a difference. Mahomes have the offensive line. And he has receivers. Don't let Lamar do everything. Get a running game, get a running back by committee, or you're going to get that dude hurt.
Yeah. And the other thing, the biggest thing that I noticed, I watched a good bit of the game at a bar in Vegas. That's where I live, and it was obviously very exciting. People were really hyped up about it. Lots of fans in the city of the team, but the biggest thing is exactly what you were saying. And if you can't solve that running game problem, Lamar Jackson's fumbles, I mean, especially I think the first one when they were going down, I think they still had the lead. It wasn't like they were in some sort of terrible position, but it's, you're in a situation where you have the lead, you're trying to go down the field, and then your quarterback fumbles the football, and all of a sudden the entire game's blown wide open because the Raiders have, hardly anywhere they need to go. Josh Jacobs is going to get you there when you start the game. When you start the drive on the opponent's side of the field, it's going to make things so much easier. Those 2 fumbles on Lamar, I think, are going to come back to bite you. And that's exactly why, if you can't find somebody to be that RB1 that you can trust to just give it to this guy when you have the lead, that'll get you enough yards, you can chew that clock, have control of the game, have control of the tempo. It's exactly that. You're going to have Lamar making maybe riskier throws or running it more. And, well, with 2 fumbles, I think the last thing you want to do is see him trying to scramble for yardage when you've got a lead in next week's game.
100%. I mean, I can only echo what both of y'all just said. I mean, the fact that Lamar Jackson had more rushes than any other running back on the team kind of speaks for itself. But I mean, on the opposite side of the ball, Las Vegas doesn't look. I mean, Josh Jacobs didn't look like Josh Jacobs yesterday. Now that might be a product of the fact that Derek Carr threw the ball 56 times, and he didn't have to. Josh Jacobs still found the end zone twice, so let's not discredit the fact that he did good. But with 10 carries for 34 yards, didn't exactly look that great. But then they bring in Kenyon Drake, who looked like Kenyon Drake. So Raiders maybe have some running back problems that they need to figure out themselves. I have faith in Josh Jacobs. I know a lot of people do. But I'm really most excited about Vegas's receiving prospects. Darren Waller aside, Brian Edwards, Hunter Renfrow, Kenyon Drake can catch the ball, so that's where he made up for it. He got 5 catches for 60 yards. And then Zay Jones. Before we went live, I actually watched an interview. It was a post-game interview on the field with Derek Carr. And they tried to talk to him about how, winning the game. And he did nothing but talk about Zay Jones. He's like, whenever I need someone at practice at 6 a.m. to catch the ball, Zay's the only person there. He's the last one to leave the building. He's the hardest worker. Like, you guys are going to see great things from him. So I'm excited to see what Zay Jones can do moving forward. If you have that much praise from your quarterback and a receiving core that includes Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, they've definitely put themselves, in a great spot with that, with the roster they built out. And, I obviously cannot mention Henry Ruggs, and, where he can pop off at any moment as well. You've got a lot of weapons there. And I think it really does boil down to Derek Carr is, no matter how good he ever gets, unless they win the Super Bowl and he does it with like 10 touchdowns, he's going to be nobody's got their eyes on him, right?
Exactly.
When you're talking about quarterbacks, he can have an amazing game. It's going to be like Jameis Winston, where people are like, okay, well, next week he's just going to go back to being okay. We're not expecting this guy to just magically be able to keep this level of play up. Right now, throwing for 400 yards is obviously no small feat. If you can win the game doing that, that's great. It's a bit risky for the Raiders because, again, much like the Steelers, they relied on a couple of those, either the special teams or the turnovers in the red zone that really opened the door up for those guys to have these, quote unquote upsets. But hey, if that's what you got to do to win the games, then take advantage, take everything that they'll give you.
Yeah. Speaking of winning games, the last game we have to talk about really is Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith. The Eagles absolutely decimate the Falcons. Matty Ice looked like he died on the field.
He did.
He did. That's forever going to be a meme. And I feel bad because the guy was hurt. But holy moly, like face down, just in the ground with your teammates just sort of just staring down at you. Like, it's the most depressing thing I've ever seen. Anywho, Jalen Hurts takes the helm at Philly. A lot of people doubted him moving forward. As of today, he's number one selling jersey in the NFL with a 500% increase in sales of his jersey, and it's for good reason. 27-35 for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns. What do we think? Do we have the real Jill and Jalen Hurts, or was it just a product of playing the Falcons?
Oh yeah, there's a reason Philadelphia had that meltdown last year, and it's not because Jalen Hurts is a prima donna. It's because he played well, he looked good, and you could say whatever about the team's weapons, the injuries and stuff that have hit the Eagles over the years, but when you bring in, especially the talent that they've been building at the wide receiver position, you open up so much for Jalen Hurts. Guys like Devonta Smith and Jalen Reagor being able to spread the field, and especially Miles Sanders, who's not only, I think, a fantastic running back, but he's great at catching it too. You can use him as that multifaceted weapon, and that's to me just the awesome thing about that, because even Devonta Smith, like mentioning him going into the draft, people had some questions about his size, about his weight. Can he take a big NFL hit? Well, it turns out if you can get around the outside and make it into the end zone without being touched, that's not going to be as much of a problem for you. And it was really awesome to see him show up, because I know he was someone that had a lot of question marks put on him right before that draft came up. And it looks like the Eagles have been nailing it between Reagor and Smith the last few years. They got a really young offensive squad, and obviously low-key shout out that defensive line. That pressure they brought was unreal, and if they keep that up, then again, that's my underdog pick. I love the Eagles this year.
Yep.
Well, it's only going to take 7 wins to win that division, and it just
wait, hold on. We're through a 17-game season now. That means they all lose 10.
It will only take 7 wins. I mean, do we need to talk about this division?
Hold on. Is everyone taking
NFC
notes
least.
of what this man has said? We got a lot of hot takes coming out of this man tonight.
Yeah, it's you're only gonna need 7. I mean, I can talk about the NFC least. We can start with the Giants. Saquon Barkley, I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's ready 100%. He didn't do the Adrian Peterson type of recovery for the ACL. I could be wrong. Daniel Jones, I don't know. They got some work to do.
There's a lot of people telling themselves that Daniel Jones is still the guy.
They have to, so they can sleep at night. We saw that draft. They passed up on a lot of people, so they have to. We talk about the Washington team. They don't have a quarterback.
They got Taylor Heinicke.
Maybe Nell, you could talk about Cam Newton. He might be going home, or Robert Griffin. Somebody. That'll be later. We'll talk about that. And then the Cowboys. And I'm so sorry if you're a Cowboys fan. And you know what? At the end of the day, y'all celebrate a preseason win, thinking y'all won the Super Bowl. So yeah, you can talk about me. Look, Cowboys. Dak Prescott looked fantastic. I do not, in the bottom of my heart, trust their defense. Yes, they looked good against Brady. And in Tampa, they did. That guy, oh my God, I forgot his name. I think it's not Smith, not CeeDee Lamb. The defensive player, defensive back, they looked really good. He kind of contained Godwin. He looked real good, but I just don't believe in the end. Dak, he looks great, but I think that defense is going to have to fix up. So, Eagles win 7 games. Shoot, 6 games. I'll see you in a home game in the playoffs.
All
It's
right.
got to be a little closer
Yeah.
than that. It's got to be a little close. I mean, Todd Bowles' defense, that's literally his whole entire thing. And that guy has so many accolades. There's such a level of respect. Still being able to put up 29 points and be competitive against the team that just won the Super Bowl. And, as everybody loves to point out, is keeping pretty much all the starters on the offense from last season. I think it speaks volumes to Dak's recovery, because that injury last year was absolutely brutal. You don't wish that on anybody in the league.
Right.
Nobody wants to have to see a player go through that. But the fact that he came back, didn't look shooken up at all, really spoke volumes about just the that he is back, that he's going to come back and play in that form he was in prior to getting hurt. And that's, I think, the biggest thing for Cowboys fans. Personally, I hate the Cowboys, but I got to respect Dak, because, man, coming off an injury like that and looking as good as he did is just damn impressive.
Yep. I mean, I think Dak's going to get a run for his money with how this entire conversation started in Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts, and it has, like you said, with Devontae Smith and Rhaegar, they got it now. And Dallas Goedert showed up, did his job as a tight end, and I think they're set. The question is, what's going to happen with Zach Ertz? Is Zach Ertz going to get his trade request fulfilled? We'll see. I know a team in Charlotte, North Carolina, that could really use a solid tight end right about now.
I think he'd look great in Gotham Green. I don't know what you're
I
talking
think
about.
I think the Panthers, that'd be good.
Yeah.
There's a team in Miami that might need something.
No, but I mean, on the right, on the Falcon side of the ball, yes, it was an absolute disaster for them. But you can't cover up the fact that their leading rusher was Cordarrelle Patterson, and that Kyle Pitts looked great, by the way. Kyle Pitts looked phenomenal. He looked exactly like the 6'8" receiver that he is. I did refuse to call him a tight end. He's too small to be a tight end, weight wise, but we'll see. But Eagles, I think, are the real deal, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do moving forward. I have Eagles gear now. I bought an Eagles hat. I don't want to talk about it, but I own one now.
Oh my God.
Listen, you do things for friends that you love. So, with that being said, we got a couple injuries to talk about, but that's the rest. That is the suite of games for the week. A lot of big standouts, a lot of great games. Before we move on to injuries, you guys have a game of the week. Who do you think? Who's your player of the week? Game of the week? Whatever you want to pick. It doesn't matter.
From the last week or next week? Just to be clear.
Next week.
Okay.
Next week. Okay. Game of the week. Last week's player of the week.
Okay, well, I'll give play of the week to seeing Sammy hitting Robbie, because that's still something that I love. And both of those guys deserve way better than the deal they ended up with in New York. So I'm happy to see those guys look good. I want to see that replay happening non-stop. And I'll wait a second before saying my game of the week for next week. No.
What do you got?
Play of the week. I'm really happy for Jamar Chase. I was so glad to see the LSU connection. I like him. I like that team. I like Joe Burrow. He instantly went into the press conference and made fun of reporters saying that Jamar Chase couldn't catch, and he literally called out the reporters. So he's protecting his teammates. I'm really happy. So that's my play of the game, play of the week.
All right. We just talked about it. I'm going Devontae Smith's first touchdown in the NFL. It was beautiful. Get him outside, and it really showed off not only his ability to be a great receiver, but Jalen Hurts' ability to really throw the ball right in there and looked beautiful. So next week we had a full slate of games that are gonna be fun to watch. What are you guys looking forward to? Which game you got on your mind?
Cowboys-Chargers. Cowboys-Chargers should be good. If Dak looks as good as he did, I mean, I love Justin Herbert. I love the team. I love watching the Chargers games. I love watching them play. If they bring that, I just think it should be a really close, good game. I mean, the obvious choice, you can look at Chiefs-Ravens, but I'm excited to see how Dak shakes up against Justin.
Okay.
I have two, and one is biased, one is not. The first one I'm really interested is to watch Kansas City and Baltimore. I'm really, that can be an explosive game for both of the quarterbacks, and I think that'll just be fun to watch. Okay. The second game is going to be Buffalo at Miami, and the reason why is because Miami can take a 2-0 lead in the division. That can be huge. We can revenge our win against Buffalo. We're playing in Miami with the temperature is going to be 95 plus degrees. So Buffalo, who are used to the cold right now, has to travel to Miami. All eyes are going to be on Tua. Last week when we played the Patriots, They did a lot of read options. They got the ball out the hand quickly. He only threw to 2 receivers. One, Jalen Waddle, that's his number one connection right now. They're feeding him the ball. They're making him like a Tyreek Hill. He is coming out of the backfield. He's doing a lot of bubble screens. Be on the lookout for him. So those are my 2 games.
Yep. Cool. I think I'm most looking forward to Texans versus Browns. I think this is the Texans' first real. This is going to be their test. Is Tyrod Taylor the real deal, and can he carry that offense alongside Mark Ingram second? And how does Baker Mayfield respond from a decent outing against Kansas City, but unable to kind of keep the lead there? So I'm excited to see how both quarterbacks respond whenever they have a different type of opponent. And can Brandon Cooks put up those numbers again? So we'll see. But moving on, we had a few injuries this week. Kind of get through these real fast. But the biggest that we have, of course, is Raheem Mostert. And before we get into any of this, we wish all of these people the fastest recoveries possible, because injuries, while enabling the game, suck for everyone. But Raheem Mostert himself announced either on Twitter or Instagram today that he had elected to have season-ending knee injury. Kind of puts the 49ers in a pickle. But they have both Elijah Mitchell and Sermon. So what do you guys think? Are they going to be fine without Mostert, or should they have cause for concern moving forward?
With the way that offense is built, I think they can at the very least work around it. But it's, a presence like that is obviously, going to be missed in a big way. But if there's a team that can kind of mix it up and play a very balanced style, even without their main star in running back position, I think it is the 49ers. So I wouldn't be as worried for them as maybe some other teams missing their key players.
Cool. Then for the Lions, after he was publicly ridiculed for being berated on the sideline, Jeff Okudah tore his Achilles for the Lions, taking out one of their probably better players on defense. What do you think, Anthony? Is this going to take them out of the race if there was one to begin with?
Just because of that division, no. I think golf is going to play at the elite level, and I think that they will have some young pieces that they drafted last year that's going to step up for them. It does hurt that they lost them, but I think the offense can overpower that division.
Perfect. And then it's unfortunate to hear this one. Gerald McCoy left the game last night with another knee injury. Signed last year by the Cowboys, and before he could even play a game, had an injury, was cut by the team, signed with the Raiders this offseason in hopes of reviving his career after playing 2 years ago with Carolina and doing absolutely amazing, enough to get a good contract from Dallas. And personally, I think Gerald McCoy going down on the front of that defensive front actually isn't that bad of a thing. As we saw, the Raiders were able to continue doing their theme, and I think Carl Nassib kind of stepped up when he needed to. So excited for that Ravens front four. Then other than that, the Saints have a bunch of COVID cases. They have 8 total cases on their team right now. 6 offensive coaches, a nutritionist, and a singular player. I'm not going to comment on this because they're going to play the Panthers, and I hope it has an effect. But you guys think losing half your offensive staff and a player, is that really going to impact you the next week?
I think they were talking about with the way the protocols work, since I believe they've said that the affected individuals are mostly or all vaccinated. Mm-hmm. They will be, if they pass the test. I think it's 2 negative tests in a 24-hour period. So they still have the week to be able to try and test clear. Obviously, losing players is one thing. Losing coaching staff, I don't know if it has the same level of impact, but clearly if you have somebody else giving you your orders compared to the guy you're used to, maybe a miscommunication can be something that, ends up being a part of it. But I would hope that whoever steps in for their place knows what they're doing.
Yep, fair. And that about covers it for the bigger ones. Amani Hooker, we found out, has a foot injury. We don't know if it's season ending. They haven't seen anything like that yet. So all the best to everyone that's injured and the big news that we saw. Other than that, again, we talked about a couple of them already. We haven't gone into any specific detail except for Zach Wilson because of Nathan.
Well,
but we saw 5 rookie quarterbacks this week, and obviously the big name coming out of it is Trevor Lawrence, who, in my mind, had a pretty normal rookie game. If you ask me, come out, throws the ball 51 times, which is probably a little bit more than everyone wanted to see. Only completed about half of those. and actually a little bit more than half for 330 yards, three touchdowns, 3 picks, sacked once. To me, I put it in our notes for run of show. I said, will be great, just not immediately. I don't know if you guys have thought on that.
He's gonna be that 10 to 15 year NFL starter. He has that built, that look. I think he will be just fine. They'll put some weapons around him in the off season. He just has the look of an NFL quarterback. Him and Justin Herbert, they remind me of the same. Just those big quarterbacks who got the big arm, and they're ready to play day one.
Yeah, it was pretty clear that they wanted to give him a huge amount of workload, right? When you're talking about the way that it was drawn up versus how many running plays were done. So naturally, that's going to lead to, especially for the rookie, you expect to see some interceptions. You expect to see some, at least a couple of flashes of what it was that they drafted him for. And I love all of those things. I'm not going to knock a person for the first game. I mean, when we drafted Sam Darnold, he threw a pick 6 on his first play, and they went on to win that game, right? So you can't take too much from those kinds of things. I think Trevor Lawrence's bigger problem is everybody else around him on that team, because yes, we managed to buy the nicest, shiniest television in the world, but it's, the house, it's just, we got some water leaking through the roofs. The doors are a little bit squeaky. Air's coming under. You got a lot of work to do on that to build a ship that Trevor Lawrence can captain, I think, in Jacksonville.
Agreed. Next on the list was Zach Wilson. We already went into detail about that, but final thoughts. I think Zach Wilson's going to turn into, I'm not going to say a great quarterback, but I think he is going to be a good quarterback. I don't know if he's going to have that 15-year starter, but he'll be around for 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, well, I'm just really excited because I'm finally, I've already pre-booked my ticket. I'm just so excited to finally get to go to a Super Bowl. Jets haven't been there since my dad was the year he was born. So, that's a really big thing for me. And honestly, with the way that he threw the ball and the reads, the tightness on a lot of those throws, there were a couple of weak ones to the guy that changed his number like 10 minutes before the game started. But outside of those, which, thank you for that, of course, by the way. He looked so good when he had time to throw, and the rollout passes that he was able to make were astonishing. If he can get 3 seconds in the pocket, who knows, right? But that's the question. I mean, Mekhi Becton's out for 4 to 6 weeks now, they're saying. So, yeah, let's run some double halfback sets and let them both block and just pray. Let Elijah Moore and Corey Davis run and put 7 guys back there to block for him, because I have no idea how we're going to make it through the season without that at this point.
I don't think we need any more commentary on that. And that guy's name is Shaq Thompson, who had the best game of his career. So thanks to the Jets for that one.
He obliterated George Fant.
Yeah. So then we had Mac Jones, who, in my opinion, was probably the best quarterback of the rookie class in week 1. I think he has the highest ceiling. But what do you think? Anthony got to watch it firsthand. They were playing the Fins.
Ooh, he is going to be something special. I think here's another hot take. All the rookie quarterbacks, he's going to be the most successful longevity-wise. He's fitting in that Belichick system. I'm not saying he's playing like Brady, but I'm going to say that he is on that path of Brady. The way he looked in week 1, he was composed in the pocket. The pocket will collapse. He made the throws when he need to. It wasn't all checkdowns. He made some tough 3rd and 8. The touchdown pass, he looked right down the middle where the receiver is, and he still got hit. That man is going to do something. There's a reason why they let go of Cam Newton, because they believed in Matt Jones, and I think he's going to be something special.
Cool. Perfect.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
Do you think because I feel this way about Mac Jones. I think one of the reasons why he looks so good is he's got to be the best setup, right, of the rookie quarterbacks coming in this year. Between Belichick, you have a stable organization with a coach that's been building the process. Everybody that's on that roster from the previous years, they know how things go. However, whatever you can say about Wilson or Trevor Lawrence, they basically kicked everybody out and brought in a new coaching staff and all that. You're not just teaching the playbook to these guys coming in, you're teaching it to everybody else. And it's got to be so nice for Mac Jones to come into a system that's already running and being able to actually, just use that with everyone else without the whole team having to relearn, playbooks or something like that.
I agree, actually. I think it's a product of, I think Mac Jones was the most pro ready 100%. So I think 100%, like, he was the most pro ready to go in there and to just do it. But let's also look at the names who caught balls from him. Nelson Aguilar, James White, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Damian Harris, who also balled out in his own right for 100 yards. So I agree. I think stability of the coaching staff as well as the front office, and then New England notoriously is very timid in free agency, and this year they were not, and that shows.
Yeah.
So, other than that, we got to see both Trey Lance and Justin Fields for a couple plays. I wouldn't say there's anything that we can seriously sit here and talk about. Like, they both completed their passes, and Justin Fields ran the ball in for a touchdown. I can't wait to see more. I think if Andy Dalton does what he does, we'll see Justin Fields a little bit sooner rather than later. So, and then there's another name. You're talking about all these quarterbacks, one that still doesn't have a home. Listen, I am a bitter Panthers fan, so whatever. Cam Newton, where does Cam go now? So Cam was released by New England and whenever Mac Jones was given the starting position, and Cam got on and made a video and talked about himself, and he's even said, he goes, I was released so I wouldn't be a distraction, because Cam Newton is a distraction wherever he goes. So what does he do now? If he thinks that he's a distraction, can't be a backup, what does he do?
I mean, you wait for a team to need a quarterback that doesn't have many options. I guess it kind of leads into what he was saying. I think I was reading one of the statements with something about how he wasn't used to having to identify the mic or the middle linebacker for the offense previously. He was used to his center doing it. And I guess adjustments like that, it does kind of answer some questions that you might have had. For like, if this isn't something that's normally being done, then maybe he just, that was his tipping point. He could do everything up to a certain point, and then as soon as he had a little bit more to do than that, that's where things fell apart. But I mean, if you're a coach and you hear that, then I don't know what about that sounds appetizing. You're just kind of, if you're a team that's maybe going to make playoffs and your quarterback gets hurt and you desperately need a guy that can make a flashy play here and there and will maybe really try hard for it and want to work for it, hands on the table. But I would be shocked if he gets picked up without somebody, starting, getting hurt somewhere, God forbid.
Are we like missing the fact that he has a perfect home? There's a perfect situation in the nation's capital right now.
Well, hold on.
Coach.
Before we get into this, before we get into the Washington stuff, let's clarify. The offense that Carolina ran with Cam Newton was very tailored to Cam Newton. It was 100% let's play on his strengths and not acknowledge his weaknesses. And I think that's what a lot of people who didn't watch Carolina week in and week out don't know or didn't see. All everyone sees is the stat lines or the highlights, what Cam can do, what he can't do. And a lot of times don't get me wrong, Cam Newton is a great athlete and he is a good quarterback. I am not saying anything to his detriment, but he was carried by that team and some of those receivers. Now, granted, the year they went to the Super Bowl, who was he throwing to? Exactly, Greg Olsen. But he was carried by a lot of that team, and that defense that he had on the opposite side of the ball made up for a lot of the mistakes that he made. He's never been super accurate. He's thrown a lot of picks. He throws off his back foot a lot. He makes, poor decisions in some of the run options. So if you're asking me, is he going to where what Anthony's about to say? No, because the last time they tried, it didn't work, and it got both of them fired.
The system is different in Washington. They're set up to run a Cam Newton style offense. Look, if you're gonna rely on, because it looks like the reports coming out that Fitzpatrick injury is a hip injury and it's gonna be serious. Yeah. He's gonna be out about 8 to 10 weeks. If not, he's out for the year. Taylor Heinicke, he did show up for the playoffs last year. He had a good performance. He had a good performance in week 1, but this is a team that has a division that all you need is 6 to 7 wins to win it. Mm-hmm. You go get Cam. I think Cam can get you those 6 to 7 wins that can get you a home playoff game in Washington. And I think the system around it, the receivers, you got some good weapons out there. All Cam need to do, he don't need to point out the Mike linebacker. Go, hey, let the center do that. Ron Rivera knows Cam Newton. I think that they're a perfect match. I think it's time for Cam Newton to go back to the coach that he was comfortable with. he does that, I might have to retract what I said about the Eagles. Just saying.
I just want to say, when asked about Cam Newton, Ron Rivera's response was no. As of now, no. We've got a short week. We're gonna go through there, and then we'll go from there. If you ask me, that sounds like a coach that's not exactly interested. We'll see. Do I think Ron Rivera is looking at Cam? Most likely. But do I think he's going to end up signing him? No. Also, I think it's going to take more than 7 wins. I know you're hot take Harry over here, but I don't like. Listen, I love Cam Newton. I have 3 of his jerseys in my closet in the other room. I have 4 T-shirts that have his number and his name on the back. To say I'm not a fan would be a lie. I just don't think Cam Newton is ready to be a backup quarterback, which is what it's going to take for him to sign with a team and then work his way to starting position. And I think that's probably the biggest detriment to him right now, is that if he can't accept the fact that he needs to go in and be a backup, then he's not going to get signed anywhere. And I agree with him. There's not 32 people in the NFL that are better at quarterback than him, but there are 32 people who are set at their team that understand the playbook that are starting right now.
Yeah, no, I couldn't say it better myself. If you want to pick up Cam Newton, you're going to have to give the team to him. And that's the reality, because if you're going to ask him to do anything other than he wants to do, as we've seen, it's not going to turn out super great. So you're going to take a huge gamble. I expect, maybe later in the season, he's just going to be waiting for one of these teams that are struggling a little bit, or if somebody gets hurt, then they're going to be like, okay, can Cam get us 1 or 2 wins if we put a bunch of, simple design plays just for him in there? Maybe that's what's going to get you over the threshold. But if anybody was already counting on that, he'd probably be on a team.
I want him to sign somewhere. And you know this, Anthony. We were roommates the year he got drafted, right? Like, we were roommates then, and I was super excited. I was writing for a Carolina Panthers website back then. Like, I was stoked. But that is exactly, if you want to sign Cam Newton, you have to give him the keys to the franchise.
And I think Washington will have no problem giving him the keys to the franchise. The only reason why he said not right now is because they have a game on Thursday. I'm telling you, if Heineken goes out there and throws 3 picks, gets booed, this division is wide open. I'm not giving this division to anybody. Yes, I'll say it again. 7 wins will get you.
Eagles taking it with 10 wins.
You don't need 10. That'd be cool. You need 7. 7 will get you a home playoff game.
Okay.
And you will be just fine.
If it was just the Giants in Washington, maybe.
Yeah.
But.
So, with all this being said, this kind of ties back to, there was news whenever Cam was released that Dallas was interested in him. Do you think this all ties back into the fact that Cam's not ready to be a backup, why they didn't grab him? Because they ended up taking Will Grier from Carolina as a backup. But do you think that's why?
I mean,
I don't see
if Dak goes down, again, Cam Newton is very much the same style of quarterback as Dak Prescott.
No, Cam would not fit in Dallas. And two words: Jerry Jones. They will fight before they even talk about a contract. That is, Jerry Jones is the head coach. He's the GM. He's the owner. He makes all the decisions. There's no head coach in Dallas. You can say it's Mike McCarthy. He literally just has a title. He doesn't do any decisions. That's Jerry Jones. And to go back on the whole backup situation, Cam Newton said in New England he had no problem being the backup for Matt Jones and to help him. But Cam Newton said that it would have been a distraction for him, for Matt Jones. Not Cam Newton, but for Matt Jones. It was a loophole in the situation with Cam Newton in New England that Cam was out because of the protocol, and that gave Matt Jones more time to play in the preseason and practice. But Cam Newton said he has no problem being a backup, but he wouldn't have to be if he goes to Washington. He'll start day 1. He'll get them those 7 to 8 wins, and they'll have a home playoff game this year.
All right. Well, we'll see. And then lastly, keeping the theme of quarterbacks for week 1 alive, Tom Brady's 44 years old and is still doing what Tom Brady does best.
What a god.
What is he, an android? I mean, I said that in our promo video, but like, seriously, how does this man go out there, throw the ball 50 times for almost 400 yards, get 4 touchdowns, throws 2 picks. Are those 2 picks a sign of the age, or is it just because of bad play calling, or is Tampa Bay really the fountain of youth?
Tom Brady. I hate him so much that I love him now.
Yeah, no,
Like,
same. I as soon as he was off the Pats, the first thing I'm like, okay, well, we'll see what he does, and you can't feel anything but respect for him. But try to keep going.
Yeah, he beat up on the Dolphins so much for the last 13, 14 years, and the Jets got some lickings in and whatnot. He's just that good. I think he should have retired. He's really selfish. I'm going to say that right now. He's very selfish. He's won a lot of rings. He got 5 in New England. He went to Tampa Bay and got 1. He should have quit. He should have just took his boat and just sailed away, just like Tom Hanks did. Just stop. Let other people. It's very annoying now that he's still playing. But it does nothing to prove. He's like that big swole dude in the gym going to lift weights. You won. You won the competition. Go home, Brady. Let somebody else have fun.
It's that.
Sorry.
So I've always thought of Tom Brady. He is a guy that just it's a bit of that cockiness. There is no situation where I ever feel like I've watched him play where he was anything less than 100% confident that he could do what he needed to do. And obviously he hasn't won every single game he's played, and they haven't won a million Super Bowls. They've just won a lot of them. But you can clearly see that he hasn't lost a step, and I think it's because he still has that. And I think he's one of the things that he said about that was he's proven it to himself as well that he can keep doing it. And it's honestly mind blowing. The guy's health regimen is off the charts, obviously, but I don't know. I'm just happy that the worst case scenario, if we ever do get good, at the very least, Tampa Bay's in the NFC, and I hope he stays there if he's going to keep playing. Just don't come back to AFC, please, and thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess with that, week 1 down, do you think Tom Brady looks better already this year than he does last year? Because he was slinging it compared to last year.
Yeah, I don't think he's
a lot better.
Man, I don't think he's lost a step.
No.
He's gonna be making a lot of people cry this season that are hoping old age gets up to him. But cool. He's got a painting in somebody's attic that's getting older instead of him. Simple as that.
Yeah, fair. So I mean, with that being said, that kind of covers week 1. If we look forward to the next week, there's a lot of good games. We've already talked what we're looking forward to. A couple lines for you guys to close this out. We got the Saints and the Panthers. The over/under is at 44.5 right now. Where are you going with that? I'm taking the over. Listen, if Carolina can put up 20 and the Saints do what they did, they probably put up another 30. Like, I think they're going to hit closer to 50.
Well, I'm going to do the obvious thing and disagree with you because as much as I want to keep my hopes up for Sam and the gang, they're going up against a heck of an upgrade compared to the past coverage we saw out of a bunch of, undrafted free agents and rookies that the Jets were starting. But I do expect the Saints offense to put up a lot of points. I don't know that it's going to be over that number though.
No.
So what's the over under again?
44.5. 44.5.
44.5?
Yeah.
I'm going to look right into my camera. Jameis alone will get a total of 35 himself.
Okay.
The other 10 can go from like Kamara and the kicker. Jameis, your MVP of this season, and I'm saying this, I want everybody to look at me, will get 35 points himself. He is the real deal. He is the truth. Jameis is throwing for 45 touchdowns this year. He's going to put the Saints the number 2 seed in the playoffs just to lose in the first round because he's going to throw 5 picks because it's too good to be true.
All right.
So he's not going to bust until they're in the playoffs, is what you're telling me.
45 touchdowns and 2,400 yards. Okay, quick rapid fire here. Thursday night game. You got Washington -3 against the Giants. Who are we taking?
Taking Washington. I have absolutely zero confidence in Daniel Jones, and as much as I wish Saquon Barkley could play as well as he did in his early years, he's been beaten up and he has not been properly supported to be able to carry that team.
Cool. Next game, Sunday, we got 49ers -5.5 against the Eagles.
Taking the Eagles.
Okay.
I am.
I'm actually going to agree with that. And then to make Nathan feel included, Patriots -4.5 against, or no, -6 against the Jets.
Yeah, honestly, it really just comes down to whether or not the offensive linemen learn how to communicate with each other. Because I think if Zach Wilson gets time to throw the ball, it's going to look great. If he doesn't, Patriots defense is also, in my opinion, a pretty big upgrade when you're looking at some of the superstars compared to the Panthers. So, obviously, I'm just going to say it. Whatever, screw it, Jets. YOLO.
Okay, well, I'm taking the Pats. There's no way.
Yeah, just an upset.
I'll see you next week, sir.
They're taking that. And they're covering that. Last rapid fire Monday night, we have the Packers against the Lions, with the Packers -10.5. An interesting line there, considering how well the Lions did against San Francisco, and how did the Packers even play football last week? So.
No, it was a JV team. But I do have the Packers winning by at least 2 touchdowns.
Oh, okay. Bold claim.
Aaron Rodgers will get back on track.
Yeah, cool. Even if Aaron Rodgers deliberately tried to lose last week's game, Lions fans just don't get nice things. So, sorry.
Fair. Actually, I just saw this one because this kind of tickles my fancy. The Browns -12.5 against the Texans. Now, the Browns just went toe-to-toe with Kansas City, and the Texans just walloped the Jaguars.
Browns for sure. Browns lost a really close game against, arguably best or top 3 team in the league. I love the Browns. I think they're gonna dominate.
Cool. All right. With that being said, that brings us to the end of the very first episode of the regular season. So I want to thank Nathan and Anthony for joining me. You guys have any closing thoughts or anything you want to say besides goodbye?
I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful week, and I hope that your favorite team wins, even though it's impossible for that to be true if enough of you like different teams.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for everybody who came out and watched the first episode. This has been very exciting. Me and Nell have been doing this for years, and I'm just glad that everybody showed up. And Jameis for MVP.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, echo that. Glad to get Nathan in on this gang of miscreants. So super fun. Thank you all who watched live. If you are not watching live and you're listening, you can join us every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern over on twitch.tv/rdsports. You can find all the news that you need to at Rare Drop Sports on Twitter. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Nelstar15. I was joined by Big Ants Gaming and Nathanius, and we'll see you guys next week.